parents, grandparents, and ancestors. What does this mean to you? To me, it means everything. First, let me give you a little background on my ancestors. My ancestors come from two worlds, two completely different cultures. My European ancestors came from the Old World. My Cherokee ancestors were here in the New World. Sometimes they would, when they would work together, they would have peace during that time. Of course, there were times where they didn't trust each other and they would be at war. Unfortunately, the war lasted almost 200 years before there was any type of stable peace between the two. Both cultures believed what they were doing and how they were living was the right way. And they stood, the two cultures did intermarry. They found out they had more in common than they had differences. Even though they were discriminated against in a lot of the villages and towns, they stood up against what was considered the status quo. Now both cultures in my family passed down traditions and stories from the parents down to the children. Now a lot of these stories and traditions, they shaped my view of the world and how I approach things. Now I'll give you a little background on me. I was born in July of 1973 to an Austrian mother and a Scottish and Cherokee father. Now my mother is a second generation born here in this country. Her father was the first one on that side of the family to be born in the United States when his parents came over in 1906. My father, as I mentioned already, was a mix of Cherokee and Scottish descendancy, and his family had obviously been here for quite a few generations. Now I have a love for the outdoors, a love that makes me really have a drive to be a conservationist of nature. Now, my father taught me when I was young that it was very important for us to be good stewards of the land. Now, the activities I really enjoy to do in the outdoors, like camping, hiking, fishing, you name it, I've probably done it. When I do those activities, it's important that I do so selectively. If I'm hunting or picking plants, I'm not shooting the big buck. There's more does. I'm going to go after a doe because there's more of them. If I'm selecting a plant for something, I'm not going to take the first plant or the second plant. I'll take the third plant. That way I make sure there's more there for other people that need it. Another thing I always try to do is if I take something from nature, I try to replace it. I also happen to be the family genealogist. This is something I've done for over 20 years, something I really enjoy, and it's given me an opportunity to get close to ancestors that I never even met. And while doing the searches on the family and digging into it, I learned stories of love and survival that really shape a path a person can take. For example, had a grandfather in Austria. He had a log fall on him and crushed him. My grandmother built a cross, and she carried that cross from their home through the woods all the way to a church where she left it with a note on it saying, "Please pray for my husband." That is a perfect example of love. Things you don't really hear of anymore. I also have a big desire to help and protect people. My mother taught me when I was young that it was important to help people and to care for them and do whatever you can for them. And this is something that's really taken a major part of my life. In the past, because of that drive to help and protect people, I've been a deputy sheriff. I spent 9 years as a soldier in the Army. And the way I'm currently following that desire is I'm doing it as a firefighter and a paramedic. Now, helping and protecting isn't just something from one culture, it's actually from both of those cultures, from the Cherokee and the European. In conclusion, it's the stories and the traditions that have been passed down that have really had an impact on my life. And it's such an impact that I believe it's something that, not that I just will, but I have to pass down to my children. Thank you. You can just show everybody else now, or hand it back to me.
Huh?
Still going.
Okay. All right.